Hello, crafty friends. This is Jeannie Moss, the Bluegrass Stamper. Welcome to my studio here in the Bluegrass state of Kentucky. Today we're going to be making this pretty fall card. It says a little note to brighten your day. You are amazing in every single way. So this was made at our class this month. You'll need some supplies. I'm using the Changing Leaves bundle. This bundle comes with the stamp set and a hybrid embossing folder with dies. So if you're not sure about the hybrid embossing folder, what that means is that this is a very versatile embossing folder. You can use the embossing folder to make a pretty background with those leaves, but you can also use it with the dies. So we have this big die that can be used to cut out the stamps, so we can use the stamps with the die. We can also use the stamps, of course, alone. We can use the embossing folder alone, or we can use the embossing folder with the dies. And so we can put this die into our embossing folder, and we can emboss and cut out those leaves at the same time. So it's very versatile. You can use this with or without the stamps. You can use the stamps with or without the dies, with or without the embossing folder. Today, we're going to use the stamps and the die. I'm not using the embossing folder because I've chosen a different embossing folder. We'll be using this one called Leaf Fall. So we'll use that today. We'll also use the Country Woods paper. This is a beautiful set of all wood look paper. So lights, you've got lights, darks, colors, so lots of different choices, which goes with just about anything. The wood will go with just about anything. We're using this particular piece today. We'll also use the Neutrals Adhesive Back Sequins. These are great. They're silver, gold, copper, and bronze, so they'll go with about anything. Very pretty for fall. You'll need some supplies. This is a piece of 5.5 by 8.5 copper clay, and I have folded it in half for my card base. We'll also need a piece of white. This is 4 by 5.25. You'll need a piece of Mossy Meadow. This is 4 by 5.25. You'll need another piece of copper clay. I'm not sure what size it is, but it is big enough for our stamp to fit on it. We've got a 3.25 by 3.5 piece of crumb cake, a 3 by 3 piece of that DSP, a small scrap, a 1/2 inch by 2.5 of our gold foil, and just a scrap of our crumb cake. So let's get started. We've folded our card base and put it to the side, and now we're going to do our stamping. So I'm going to pull out these two pieces. I'm also going to grab a piece of scrap paper, because this one is going to be stamped off the edge. So we'll start with our copper clay piece and our copper clay ink and the big leaf stamp. So you want to ink that up. It is a big stamp, so you'll have to move it around to get it inked up. And then we will put it onto this piece. And there is our leaf. We will also put this leaf on the inside of our card, and we're just going to use part of the leaf for the inside. So I'm just inking up the top part of the leaf, and I'm just going to put it right there. So there's the inside. I've also got this "You Are Amazing in Every Single Way" stamp that I'm going to put on the inside of the card. So let me go ahead and do that, And that way we will be finished with the inside of the card. So this piece is finished. While we're stamping, I'm going to bring in that scrap of crumb cake. And I'm going to stamp this little one that says, "A little note to brighten your day." And when we've got this stamped, we are actually finished with our stamping. So we can put the ink away. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the inside of the card inside our card. I'm just going to use some of the Stampin' Seal. I'm going to line that up. Should have about 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. Oops, and I shouldn't have put my finger in that ink. It wasn't quite dry, so I'm going to be covering that up with something. And I might show you how to do that. All right, so there's our card base. Now, I've got this piece of Mossy Meadow, and I've taken the dies for the leaves. So I've taken these two dies, this one and this one, and I've cut it out of this layer. Now I've stayed away from the edges because this is going to be a layer on our card, but this gives us a paper saving technique. So I have these leaves now that have been cut out of this piece. I'll put those to the side, and then I put this into the Leaf Fall embossing folder, and I ran it through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine so that I have this piece. And you can hopefully see all those leaves on there. And now this piece is going to go on the front of our card. I'm going to put those holes at the top because we are going to cover those up. And that's where I want it to be. Next, I've taken this piece of DSP. This is 3x3. I've taken my paper cutter and I've cut that into 3 1-inch strips. So 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to glue those to this piece of crumb cake. This is that 3 1/4 by 3 1/2. I'm going to start with the ones on each end. So this one's going to go on first, and there's a little 1/4 inch border. Then I'll put this one on the other end. This is just easier, makes it easier for me to line them up. So this one also has that little, I'm sorry, 1/8 inch border. Did I say 1/4 inch? It's an 1/8 inch border. And then this one, I'll just center between those two. And it should have about the same border in between. So there's our piece of crumb cake that is now going to go over our Mossy Meadow, and it will cover up the holes. Now, the piece that I've stamped with our leaves, I've taken the die, that big one, and I took this and I ran this through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. You will need to be careful with that because you've got this excess die over here. You want to make sure it's all on your platform, you know, as it goes through. You don't want it hanging off because that to damage your die. So I've cut that out, and I have this piece. And then I've also taken this little die, this little oval label die, and I put it on this piece, and I ran it through and cut out a little label. So we have this little piece. And I won't make you watch that. So we have our leaves that we had cut out of this green panel. I also took a scrap of crumb cake and cut out this guy. So we have him as well. So we will attach the leaves with dimensionals. So I've got some dimensionals here, and I'm not really going to use too many of those. And I'm also going to keep them out on the edges of the leaves because I want to be able to tuck these other leaves underneath. So I'm only putting them on the leaves. And this guy is going to go somewhere along in here. And now we have these leaves that we can put. I'm going to actually cut these apart. I'm going to use my little paper snips. I'm just going to cut those two. I'm going to use my glue for this, and I'm just going to use a little bit down towards the bottom of the leaf, and I'm going to let the top part of the leaf just be free. So got a little bit of glue on that. I'm going to tuck that under here. I think I'll put this one here. Again, not a lot of glue. Be very sparing with this glue. It works really well, and you don't need a lot of it. Just a little dot here and there. That one's going under there. And this one, I'm going to just tuck right down in there. So there are those leaves. I have this little guy. If you hear my dog barking, that's Max. He's a rescued German Shepherd. He thinks he needs to be where I am, even in the bathroom. So my husband's supposed to be keeping him quiet, and you hear how that's going. Stick that one on. Oops. He wants to stay on my finger. Get back up there. And now we've got this piece of gold and this our greeting. I'm not going to use glue. I don't like to use glue with the foil because it's too easy to get glue on the foil, and it's really hard to get it off or make it look nice. So I'm just going to adhere those together. Then I will use dimensionals. And that will also help to hold those two pieces together. Oh, he's so beautiful, isn't he? And this is now going to go right across the bottom of our card. Two more things. I have a piece of twine. This piece of twine is about 13 inches long. And all I've done is taken this and folded in half and tied a bow. Now, I'm not going to make you watch me do that because I have to fiddle with it. And so I already have that done. This is my little double bow. And I'll put that on with a glue dot. And I have some old glue dots here from a paper pumpkin kit that I'm going to use. This is the Take Your Pick tool. It's very versatile. You can pick up these things nice and easy with that. And I'm going to just put it right there. And I'm actually going to use two of these because let me get the top off of that one. I like for them to stick. My bows, Sometimes they don't want to stick, so I like to use a couple of glue dots. And this is ready to go right on like that. The last thing are those embellishments, those sequins I was telling you about. I'm going to use a couple of the gold ones. So let's see, I'll put this one here. I've got the smaller size that I'll put up here. And there's our card. Now I am going to have to fix this, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. If I'll take this panel out, which I may do, and if you want to see another trick on how to do that, a good friend is a dental floss. So you can take a piece of dental floss and you can pull it off, and then you can put it under the edge and you can start to wiggle it back and forth. You kind of have to hold on. Sometimes it takes 3 hands to do this, but you can start to wiggle it, and your card, like I said, sometimes you need 3 hands, maybe somebody else to hold on to it. You can pull this back and forth and get your card to come off. So I guess I don't need to really worry about how that one's coming apart. I don't want to do that. So up here, let's go with this one. Oh, it looks like it's going to peel off pretty easy anyway. But the dental floss will help if you want to try to get it off. And this one seems to be going to come off anyway. So I'm probably going to put a new piece of white in here, and I will let the next one dry. So I won't make you watch that, but that is what I'm going to do. I could have covered that up with something, but it'll be easier for me just to stamp a new one. So this is our project. I hope you liked it. I hope you like seeing me make mistakes like that, getting ink on everything. If you have any questions for me, you can reach me at bluegrassstamper@gmail.com. If you'd like to see more projects, more mistakes, you can check out my website. It's www.bluegrassstamper.com. I thank you for stopping by and spending a little time with me. I hope you'll visit again. Goodbye.